Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be taking a look at a DC Rebirth Justice League 7-pack from DC Icons. This thing came out, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, maybe? I don't even remember anymore. All I know is that at the time, I wasn't collecting DC figures. It was mostly Marvel and lots of vintage Star Wars and vintage G.I. Joe at the time. And, you know, since then, I've gotten into collecting more DC stuff. And I've been wanting to pick up some of these DC Icons for a while, see how I liked them. I mean, you're talking 6 to 6.5 inch scale DC figures with presumably pretty good articulation. What's not to like? And so I ran across this 7-pack on eBay. I'll talk about price at the end of the video. And I just went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. So these are the first DC Icons that I have in my collection. This now defunct line that is no longer made, but still, there's a lot of figures out there to pick up if you want to. So, we've got the box here. I just wanted to show you guys the box before I pull the figures out. So we've got that there. We've got, you know, the characters there on the side. We've got the back here. You know, we've got Darkseid here. We got Batgirl, Firestorm, Joker, Deathstroke, Wonder Woman, Swamp Thing, Green Lantern. I mean, all that good stuff there. Just kind of showing off some of the other characters in the line. But that is basically it. So this is what it looks like if you manage to pick one of these up in box. And now, my favorite part, we get to crack this open and see what we've got inside. All right, so we got them out of the package, and I sat here and played with them for just a little bit just to see kind of, you know, if I liked them or not. And I got to say, I was pretty happy. I really was. I was pretty happy with this setup. Now, you can see we've got all 7 set up here. And as far as height on these guys go, because I know that's what a lot of people are concerned about. Honestly, I was too, especially with, you know, the main DC line out right now, McFarlane DC Multiverse being 7-inch scale. How do these fit in? Well, they don't. Point blank, they don't. All these figures that you see here are between 6.25 and 6.5 inches, with Wonder Woman being the tallest out of the bunch, which is fine with me. She's an Amazonian. She should be taller than everybody else. And so they all kind of fall in that range, which puts them pretty close to Marvel Legends scale at that point, which I'm fine with, which honestly is a better scale for me personally, since most of my collection falls in that range. I would have much preferred had McFarlane gone, you know, 6.5, 6.25 inch scale with his figures, but he didn't. So these don't fit in well with McFarlane stuff, but they still work really well with my collection. Now, as far as paint and sculpt go, I'm very, very, very happy with these. Now, some of these are a little simplistic, as you can see here, but honestly, after McFarlane, like, over-sculpting everything, I'm kind of okay with it, I'll be honest. I mean, he puts little lines and textures and designs on everybody, even characters who don't need it. Most notoriously for me personally is his Green Lantern, his Hal Jordan Green Lantern from the 2-pack. The only Hal Jordan Green Lantern we have gotten from McFarlane is just overly done with panels and things, and I just want a nice, simple Hal Jordan Green Lantern. And something like this, while not completely simplified, he does have a little bit of, you know, design and sculpt there on the shoulders and things. But overall, a much, much simpler design that I like way, way better. And it's all personal preference. You may not. You may love the way McFarlane kind of overdoes every single sculpt. That's fine. I like it sometimes, and sometimes I don't, especially when we're talking about age-old characters like the Justice League. I don't need it overly done. I like the more classic looks for these characters. And I will say, just looking at these guys right here, this DC Icons line certainly plays more into that, even though these aren't the traditionally classic looks for the characters, because this is based off the Rebirth. So Batman's a little different, Superman's a little different. You know, Flash has like the yellow lightning lines on him. Green Lantern, Aquaman, Cyborg, they're all pretty much the same, as is Wonder Woman. So they're pretty standard classic looks, but there's a little deviation here and there. But it's still nice and simplified, and I really enjoy it. One thing that I love about these figures, specifically on Superman, Batman, and on Flash here, is that we have that nice matte finish look. There's no shine to them, no shine to the costumes, except to when you get like to Superman, you get to his, you know, his wrist bracelets there that have a nice metallic finish on them. And I think it looks good with just that little touch of it. And then, of course, like we said, with Green Lantern, he's got the more metallic look to his outfit, which fits for that character. And then with Cyborg also, you've got a little bit of shine to his sculpt as well as far as the paintwork. And in fact, Cyborg on this one is done really, really well. He's got lots of shading and almost, you know, texturing and kind of a worn look on the finish to make it look like metal that's been, you know, kind of battle worn. It looks really, really good. I mean, I really, really dig this one. Let's go ahead and pick up Hal back here from falling down. But, I mean, overall, they've done really, really well. This Wonder Woman, I mean, the fact that we haven't gotten a classic Wonder Woman from McFarlane yet, and I'm not trying to turn this into a bish fest of McFarlane. I own a lot of McFarlane stuff. I like their stuff in general. But to just get a nice classic Wonder Woman from McFarlane sure would be nice, wouldn't it, guys? But you can't right now. But you can with DC Icons. So just throwing that out there for you guys. And we've got pretty good articulation on all this stuff as well. There is one notable exception, which we'll talk about here. But overall, I mean, the characters have standard shoulders, you know, bicep swivels, double jointed arms, wrists, double jointed knees, hips, ankles, all that stuff. Pretty standard stuff for the industry. Very comparable to, let's say, Marvel Legends, with one notable exception here as we knock all the figures down. But one notable exception here is going to be they don't come with thigh cuts here. And you do get a little bit of swivel there with these as they are. Probably kind of similar to what we get with McFarlane, but that's really about it. And then, of course, you do get reverse ab crunch here, which doesn't do a whole lot on some of the figures and does more on others. And then you have kind of an upper dumbbell joint at the top of the ab crunch where you get a little bit of rotation and you get some back and forth. So articulation is really good, not perfect. Certainly there are better articulated figures out there, but I love the way the articulation that we have on these guys, while it's not the best in the world, it's still really good, but not the best. It preserves the sculpt beautifully. I mean, look at Flash here. Look at Flash. With the reverse ab crunch and the upper dumbbell joint and everything going on with him, and that sculpt looks amazing. Like, it really, really does. I mean, this is a great looking figure. In fact, I would say these two right here are the two best looking figures in the group. The Flash and Cyborg look absolutely amazing. And it's just a really nice setup. Again, paint, sculpt, articulation, everything is really, really good with this set. And as a, you know, 6 to 6.5 inch scale collector, I really appreciate the size we're dealing with this. I mean, this is going to fit in with the rest of my collection much, much better. I can even do like, I don't know, a Superman versus Captain America, and it's not going to look absolutely ridiculous. And that's great. And even when it comes to the little details here, like the cape on Batman, which looks good, it's a mostly static cape, but yet has lots and lots of flexibility in it and moves with the figure. Really, really well done. Details on the belt. Look at the logo there on the chest. Looks really good. Head sculpt looks great. Batman looks fantastic. I love it. I mean, I gotta be honest, guys, I've been putting off picking up some of these figures for years, honestly. And I mean, I don't know what I was waiting for, honestly. I don't know what I was waiting for, because these things look great. Even Aquaman here, with all the texturing on his torso and on his arms, he looks fantastic. Now, I will say the one thing about these figures that isn't great, if we're gonna talk about what's a downside here, and that is that the face sculpts are not the best. Superman probably being the most obvious here. He's got kind of a strange hairline, his head is a little big, and the face looks a little cartoony. Not even comic booky, but cartoony. Now, he's the worst one, okay? He's by far the worst one. And when it comes to Batman and Cyborg and Flash, where most of their faces are covered, it's not noticeable at all because the sculpts aren't there. It's also a little bit noticeable on Aquaman here because he's just got the bare face. Okay, Wonder Woman could definitely look better, but she doesn't look as bad as Superman and Aquaman do. And then Green Lantern back there, he's somewhere in the middle. He's got half his face covered with the mask, so he doesn't look bad. But the hair sculpt on this one actually looks really, really nice. So there are some things about these figures that aren't the greatest, like the face sculpts, but overall, I really, really dig them. I dig just about everything about them. So let's go ahead, throw up some comparisons here real quick so you can get a sense of scale here with some different figures, see how this might fit into your collection, and we'll go from there. All right, so first up, to compare them to a couple of modern Marvel Legends here, we've got the new Chode Wave, Cyclops, and what's this dude's name? Kid Omega or something. I don't even know this guy's name. I don't care. I've never heard of this character. I only bought him because he was on clearance at Target, and I wanted to finish my Chode. So you can see here, sense of scale gives you an idea. They're both a little bit taller than Superman, shorter than Wonder Woman, about the same height as Batman, and that kind of gives you an idea. They would fit in really, really well with a Marvel Legends collection or any collection of that similar size. And now for some Star Wars Black Series figures, we've got Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Of course, Luke Skywalker is shorter than all of these Justice League members. Han Solo's right about the same height as Superman, a little shorter than Wonder Woman and Batman, but still, again, with basic Hasbro stuff coming out, if for some reason you wanted to work these into that collection, I think they pretty much work with anything coming out right now. All right, so now for the real comparison everybody wants to see. Obviously, more modern DC figures on the left. We've got, of course, Rebirth Superman from McFarlane. On the right, we've got Rebirth Batman from DC Collectibles Essentials, which is still my favorite DC line that exists. And of course, you can see we've got Superman and Superman, same costume here, but you can see the obvious differences between these two figures. Proportionately, this DC Icons is a much better representation of Superman, but obviously, I mean, height-wise, I mean, if you're into 7-inch scale stuff, obviously this is the way to go. And in this one, in this particular case right here, while both of these figures here, this DC Essentials Batman and this DC Icons Batman, I think are both great, the DC Essentials is a far superior figure. And not because of the height, but just because it's better all around, in my opinion. But this is basically modern DC, is the taller 7-inch scale figures. So not really going to work very well trying to fit DC Icons figures into a current DC collection. All right, so let's talk price here real quick. And to pick up this particular 7-pack right here on the secondary market, usually it'll run you about 120 to 140 bucks. And that's a good chunk of money. Now, that being said, at the same time, at $140, I mean, you're basically paying $20 a figure for these guys, which that in and of itself, honestly, ain't bad if these were figures you wanted to get anyway. I mean, getting them in the 7-pack and saving yourself a little money from buying them individually, probably not a bad idea. But I will say, I would not have paid $140 for this. Not because they're not worth it, but just because I hadn't gotten into collecting them yet and didn't really know if the value was there for me personally. I will say, however, that now that I have them, I am absolutely looking forward to picking up some more DC Icons and building up my DC Icons collection, because these things are absolutely great. I love these guys. And so now, yeah, I can say it would be worth it. But I'll go ahead and let you in on how much I paid for this, because I got extremely lucky, if I'm honest. I found an auction on eBay that nobody was bidding on. Well, one person had, and they had bid it up to $82. And I went in with about 30 seconds left and put the bid at $90. And I actually ended up winning it for $86 total. So $86, and I got 7 figures. I mean, that's roughly, what, $12 a figure for these guys? That's a really, really good price, and obviously it's worth it for that. But again, after having gotten a hold of these figures, and if you have any DC Icons figures, you can probably speak to this. Picking the 7-pack up for 140 bucks and getting these guys at 20 bucks a piece is also a really good deal. So ultimately, I got to come down on the side of anywhere between $80 and $140. Yeah, it's worth it. These are really, really cool, and I'm really, really glad that I picked them up as Wonder Woman decides she doesn't want to stand up anymore because of her tiny little ankles. But I'm very, very glad that I got to pick these guys up. I'm very happy that I saw them for a good deal, which was the push that I needed to finally go ahead and pick some of these figures up because, as I said, I'm very, very excited to pick up some more now that I've had a chance to take a look at these guys. So that is it, guys. I mean, ultimately, I'm happy with them. Paint, sculpt, articulation, scale, everything across the board, plus the price I paid. I'm very, very, very happy as a collector right now. So would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let me know. Do you have some of these figures? If you do, what do you think of them? I'm very curious. This is my first go around at DC Icons, and so far, I'm very happy, but would love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. So that is it, guys. Thank you for watching, and always remember to enjoy your collection.